climbing out of Cuenca up to Parque Nacional. We'll be up at around 14,000 feet when we get to where we're going. Just arrived at Parque Nacional Cajas. We'll go down here and register. First plan is to hike around this lagoon, which is only about a 2-hour hike. And then, if I feel like it, I can hike from here downhill most of the way for probably a 3-hour hike. Don't know if my hips are up for that, but it is downhill mostly. Okay, we're gonna hike around this lake in a clockwise manner. Over there you can see, I think, part of the trail. It wraps around all the way back to here, but somewhere right over in there, I'm not quite sure where, we encounter another trail that goes generally downhill and is another hour or so down to the main road, and that's where we'll try to pick up the bus. The lady ahead of me with her guide in the red is from Ohio. One thing I don't like about guides is I have to listen to them jabber, so I'll let them move on a ways and I'll go through the process of loosening up my hips. Nice pan across there. I think I can see a little falls. We'll get in there quickly and see. Not sure if that's a little falls or not. More of that interesting ground cover. The local bush up here. Interesting long plant, companion plant with some pretty tiny, probably about a third the size of a dime, flowers. Probably about a third the size of a dime. This nearby plant, that's pretty little flowers and buds. This pretty little flower. On this scrub-like plant, can't tell if this is a dead form of moss, maybe the kind just directly up above it there, or whether that's its actual form. Very tiny little flowers. Almost an otherworldly plant. Notice it has those vertical rises of its limbs, we'll call it, the ones that have the ocotillo-like leaves or spines on it, and they attach to the main trunk of branches and tree that go horizontally, roughly. There's one that's going vertically to get them up in some height. I'm not moving very fast because I keep getting stopped by pretty or interesting plant life. What exactly is the geology of this? I'm not sure whether it continues to be volcanic or not. Again, I'm not sure. But it doesn't take much of a hike to get your attention with regard to breathing. This seems to be a curious landform, absent the presumption that a glacier went through here. You can almost see striations running from up above to below. And if we look at this rock, it looks like striations caused by glacial carving of the stone that is embedded in the glacier that it picks up coming down these slopes. These almost look like a collection of clam shells, but some kind of fungi, I think. Very tiny little flower, almost the size of an eraser on a lead pencil. Interesting how the either new or dying leaves on a plant give it a great bit of color. Those appear to be little either berries or flowers or buds, and pretty yellow tipped moss, of which the rest of it looks dead. Almost look like they were painted, doesn't it? They even have a swirl to those designs. From these little sloughs to the larger ponds, they're pretty obvious how they're formed. I don't know how the basin they were formed in was formed. Maybe it was just gouged out by erosion. One part filled in against the downside edge, and it just backed up. And then, of course, as rains and other percolating water from the moss and these grasses brings soil and nutrient down here, plant life expands. This seems to be scat from a fairly large animal. The large diameter, let's say on the lower right, may be as much as an inch. It's interesting that little flowers grow up in these wicked areas because it is so wicked. These, again, are about the size of an eraser head. And on another plant the same are these yellow flowers. It looks like a kind of yucca, but has the very thin spines, if you will, or leaves, if you will, whatever they're called when you're talking about cactuses. But notice these very interesting stalks that rise up, and how one of them has curled. There's actually a theory on the why, molecularly speaking, things curl, including people's curly hair. Here's blue that we haven't seen this morning. It may just be a color variation of a white flower that we saw in the video finder. It looks like it's white, but it's blue.